Hey everybody, wanted to make another video because a few students were having trouble tracking down how to select different items or different elements using JavaScript, so I figured I'd kind of scaffold it a little bit and make it a little bit easier for you. To give you an example, I've got this wonderful, beautiful website right here. The body has a main container that goes around the whole thing. You'll see that it's outlined in red. Then it has a header section and a main section. Both of those are outlined in blue. And then inside of each of those, we've got a few different elements. Inside of the header, we have a title, a subtitle, and a paragraph about it. So H1, H3, and P. Each of those have a little green around them. Same thing right here. We have all our three different products, and each of those has a green outline, just so you can kind of see all those different elements. And to make it a little bit more clear, you can see here that there's a product. Those are the little green ones. Then you've got the bigger one, that's the main div. There's the header div, and you've got each of these three elements inside of there, and then you've got the whole container. So we've got a few different levels of indentation here. Now, the terminology is important, where you have, for example, the container div has children. Its direct children are the header and the main. Header is directly inside of it, and main is directly inside of it. So they are its direct children or direct descendants, some people call it, but direct children is how I like to think about it. Just like header has three children. It has H1, H3, and a P. H1 has one child. That child is this text inside of here. H3 has one child, which is this text. Same with the P tag. And then main is the same. Main has three children. They're all divs. And each of those children has one direct child, which is the product. Now header, right here, as I said, it has three children, but it also has one parent. Header's parent is container. So you can see here how the relationship between these three. You have a container with a child of header, with a child of title, with a child of this text node right here. So you've got a div, an H1, and text. And JavaScript allows us to start with this one, for example, and then go inside, and inside even further if we want to. Or we can start with this one and go out, or we can start with this one and go next to it. We can start with this one and get all of our children and do something to all of those. All of this can be done with JavaScript. So let's go ahead and look at our JS, and I'm just going to do a few things. So let's say that I wanted to add a click listener to this title button, that whenever I clicked on it, it changes the border color of its parent. Now looking at this right here, this H1, whenever I click on this H1, I want to change the border of its parent. Now I could go through and select header, but I'm not going to do that, just to show you that you don't have to. So we want to select the parent. So first I have to select this thing, the title, which is what I'm going to put it on. So I'll go ahead and come in here, and so you can see that it's the only H1 on the page. So I'm going to select the H1, document.querySelector H1, and then I want to add an event listener to it so that whenever I click on it, something happens. So .add event listener, and then if you remember, your event listener takes two things. First, it takes the event, which is a string, and I'll do click. Then it takes a function, which is called whenever the event happens. So whenever this is clicked on, do this function. So what I want to do is I want to select its parent, which is this the header section, this blue div up here, and change its border color. I might change its background color. I'll change the whole background color to blue. That's what I'll do. So you could, because we have a class named header here, you could go and do document.querySelector.header like that to select it, and then you could do something like style. Oops. Background color equals blue. This will work. If I refresh this page and then I click on title, it works. It changes the whole background color to blue. But sometimes you might not have a class on the thing you want to select. You might not be able to add that. You might not know ahead of time where this is going to go. There's a few different reasons why you might have to navigate using the parents and children. So instead of doing it this way, you can use different syntax. And this is something that a lot of you are having to do in your to-do list stuff. So what you can do is you can use this, because remember, whenever you set up a event listener, this refers to the thing you're setting it up on. So this is the H1, so this is the title, and then I'm going to do .parent element, and that is going to be its parent, which is the blue. And then I can do .style .background color equals blue. Save, refresh, and I click. You can see it does the exact same. I didn't reference any class or anything like that. I just did the parent. The element dot parent element. I had actually planned to do select all siblings, but this is a little bit more involved, and I don't want to confuse you at this point, so I'm really, honestly, now that I'm looking at it, I'm actually going to cut that out and just do the previous or the next sibling. So let's see, for product 1, I gave it an ID of P1, and let's say that we wanted to select product 2. Whenever we click on product 1, we want product 2 background to change. So it's kind of the same, document.getElement by ID, and we called it P1, and then we're going to add an event listener, on click, run a function, T-I-O-N. And what I want to do with that function is get this dot next sibling. We'll get the next sibling, product 2. Dot style dot background color equals green. So let's save and refresh and try it out. Click. Oh, it doesn't work. This dot next sibling dot style is undefined. Well, why? That doesn't make any sense. So let's troubleshoot. Let's comment that part out, and let's just console.log this dot next sibling and see what is being selected. Let's refresh, click on that. What is this? Hashtag text? That's kind of weird. Well, if you look into the docs, mdn element.next sibling, you can read down. Let's see if I can find it quickly. Let's just search for hashtag text. There we go. Hashtag text nodes are inserted in the DOM where white space occurs between tags, such as after the closing tag of an element and before the opening tag of the next. So what that tells us is this next element is just kind of the empty space. So, or the next sibling rather, is just kind of the empty space. So we need next sibling dot next sibling. So let's refresh and try it again. Let's click on it. And now we're getting a div, and if we hover over that, it tells us the second one. So now we can do this. So instead of just doing the first sibling, we need to do next sibling. See how we're just kind of basically navigating around the DOM. This is the first one, is product 1. Fix that. Next sibling will be the blank space after it. Next sibling is the product 2 after that. So save and refresh, click, there it goes. If we wanted to do that on the fourth one, product 3 rather, we could do next sibling dot next sibling. So refresh, click, and now it does it to that one. So we're just moving around is what we're doing there. We're just kind of jumping from one to the next, and you can do the same thing with previous sibling. If I change this to the third one, let's say that I wanted the previous sibling. Let's say that I wanted this one to be clicked on instead of the other one. So let's refresh, click on that one, boom, it highlighted the first one. So you can use next sibling and previous sibling to go to the siblings. You can also get the children, and let's just look at that. mdn js select children. You got parent node and you got child nodes. So let's look at child nodes, and you'll notice that it gives us back a node list. So let's say that we wanted to get all of the children in the header, inside of the header. We didn't want the actual header right here. We wanted this h1, this h3, and this p. So you could do document.getElement by, or let's just do a query selector. And we'll do header dot add event listener, on click, do something. I'll comment this out just so it doesn't get in our way. So whenever the header is clicked, any part of the header, this dot child nodes. Let's just console.log that first so we can see it. Fresh, click on the header somewhere, and we can see we get a node list back, and it has text, and then it has h1, then it has text, then it has h3, then it has text, then it has p, then it has text again. So you can see that this text still shows up each time. So, but that also gives us this list. So we can say, okay, let's say we wanted to change the second one. then we could do this dot child nodes, and we wanted to change the subtitle. So then we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or rather 3. 0, 1, 2, 3 would give us that H3. So index of 3 dot style dot background color equals yellow. So refresh, and anytime I click anywhere on this, it will change that to yellow. I can click there, I can click here, I can click on it, I can click up here, whatever, because it's somewhere inside that div, it's getting that. So you can get all of the child nodes that way, and you can loop through them just like you would any other array, except you cannot use for each. For each does not work because the type is an array list. It's not, I'm sorry, it's a node list. It's not an array. And node lists don't have for each methods, but they do allow you to access them using an index. So if you needed to loop through them, you would do a for loop. For let I equal 0, I is less than, I'll just set this const list equals, I is less than list.length, I plus plus, and then you could just come through and do list at index I dot style dot background color equals blue. I'll come over here and refresh. Click. Uh-oh, list I dot style is undefined. That's because it's hitting the that text thing. So you have to check that first thing. So let's just go ahead and list and console.log list rather, so we can look at it. Oops. This child nodes. Refresh, click on it. There we go, we got our node list. So now you can see that it is a text or it's an H1. So looking inside it, there's a bunch of different ways you could kind of look at this and try and loop through this. So instead we're just going to have to add an if statement. If list I dot node name is not equal to, oops, not equal to hashtag text, set it equal blue. Otherwise, do nothing. So let's refresh and try again. Boom. That's how you would do it. Because you can't directly interact with this hashtag text background color because it doesn't have a background color because it's just empty string, basically. That's how you would get around that. And as I talked about earlier, you can chain these together. Previous sibling, next sibling, parent, child, whatever, just to kind of get around inside of the DOM. So if I started, for example, let's see, right here on product 3, but I wanted to get to title. So for product 3, I've got an ID of P3. Let's comment this out. Document dot get element by ID P3 dot add event listener whenever it's clicked. Run a function that does a thing. So what I want to do, because I'm on product 3, I need to go up. So this dot parent element, which by going up, it will get me into main. Then I need to get previous sibling dot previous sibling. Now I am in container. I'm sorry, now I'm in header. Now I need to go into header and get the title. Dot child nodes, and it's, let's see, and it's the, I want to say it's the second one in there. Well, let's just console.log that to look. It's always a good idea to just console.log wherever you are. So if I click on the third one, I get a node list with length of 0. So something screwy is going on. Let's look at the previous sibling. I wonder if we're getting it, if that's a text element. I bet it is. Yep, it's a text element. So I need to go dot previous sibling one more time. Now I'm getting the header. So now I need to get dot child nodes des. And I've got this list, and the H1 is index number 1. So refresh, and it is indeed that H1. Ooh, there's a bunch of information on there. I meant to just mouse over it. So see how That's that one. So whenever I click on it, it gives me that. And now, instead of console.logging it, I can do something to it. .style .background color equals pink. Save and refresh, click, and now it changes to pink. So you can use these parent element, previous sibling, next sibling, child nodes, array, all that kind of stuff to work your way around the DOM. I know this gets a little bit confusing and a little bit unclear, especially if you start to get more and more complex and you start to have 10, 15 levels in the DOM where you have to go up, 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 next, next, down, down, next, down, all that kind of stuff. It sounds like I'm putting in an old Nintendo 64 cheat code or something. But this is how you can do it. jQuery was kind of invented to get around this. I don't remember if I put this in a video to everyone or if it was just discussion with a single student. I don't remember. But if you have time, jQuery is an absolutely wonderful library and framework that will allow you to move around the DOM much more easily than this. However, we just didn't have time to really get into it in this class. So I chose to take it out. It was in my initial plan for this class to include jQuery, but I decided to take it out in the interest of time. So if you do have time, I highly recommend you check it out, either during this class or after this class, because it's super useful, but unfortunately we just didn't have time to cover it. As always, if you have questions, let me know. I'm happy to help. Thanks.